Welcome back. In the pots today, I have an absolutely stunning colorway that is perfect for the spring. This colorway is called Garden Flowers, and it's based on a photograph of some pansies in the garden. Some high contrast pansies, nonetheless. Basically, I love high contrast photos, especially when it comes to nature, and pansies are one of those ones that really kind of jump out at me because you get those nice deep dark purples or those bright oranges, things of the sort. Anyways, let's get into this. So first thing we're doing, we're throwing our yarn into the pots. We've got it all lined up, all nice. We're going to put a little bit of soak in there. Soak is basically what we use to soak the yarn in, and it is water and vinegar, or citric acid, depending on your preference. We use citric acid here, but vinegar works really, really well as well. And basically what we're doing is we're dropping the pH to allow the acid dyes to adhere to the animal proteins in the wool itself. This specific colorway is going to have a little bit of what we like to call a puff up in the middle. Basically, we're going to grab a hold of the center of the yarn, like so, and we're going to puff it up a little bit. And what that allows us to do is to put some darker colors on the outside, and then a lighter color in the center. If we weren't puffing this up, what would end up happening is the darker colors would encroach on the lighter colors, and we would lose that high contrast that we're really after. So this one is, again, a beautiful colorway, lots of high contrast. We're going to get into it right away here. Now, if you didn't know, this is what we would call a low immersion dye. Basically, there's not a lot of soak in there. There's not a lot of water. And what we're trying to do is stop the dye from traveling too far when we're throwing it onto the yarn. Now, across the top here, we're putting a very vibrant purple right into the top. It is basically what we would call grape juice, brilliant violet, and a little bit of charcoal to try and darken it up a little bit. And we get that all mixed up nice and hot, throw it across the top, and you can see it's already starting to settle there. Now across the bottom, we're going to go with another purple. We're going to keep it a little bit lighter though. On this, we've gone with some grape juice as well as just the tiniest little bit of red to try and bring out some pink. You can see in the foam there what kind of color is coming through there. So it's basically the same dye, but if you add a little bit of red to it, you're going to get it pulling back into the pinky purple side of things rather than that bright violet purple that we have across the top. Now, as you can see, that puff in the middle, it's really holding that dye back and giving us a nice canvas to take and put something nice and light in there. Just watch the splash for the yellow here. It is going to travel into the pinks and the purples, and you'll just watch that yellow disappear. So if we didn't have that puff, it would really just pull this apart and you wouldn't get that high contrast that we're after. Nice bright yellow, eh? So this here is basically just a sun yellow, straight up yellow. We do like to add just the tiniest little bit of golden yellow, like an orange to it, because a straight yellow isn't as beautiful as somebody would actually think. So even when we're mixing up a yellow, we're adding just the tiniest little bit of orange to try and pull it back a little bit and get rid of that neon yellow look. So now that that's all in there, we're going to get our hands in here. We're going to get a little bit dirty, and we are going to try and keep these colors separate. So even though we're mixing and we're mixing vigorously, we don't want to push that yellow down into the other dyes and have that purple really take over that yellow. We want to try and keep it separate and make sure that it hits and settles and sticks without pushing too far. There we go. Get that pulled back a little bit. And a little bit of mixing is fine. That's fine. We don't want to keep them too separate. We want a nice even flow, but we want to make sure that that yellow really stands out in this colorway. Beautiful. All right, so next we're going to throw the lids on here, and then we're going to cook it off. Now, being as we have some high contrast in there, we really don't want that purple to travel too far. We are going to cook it off for about 10 to 12 minutes. Try and make sure that that dye sets and that we're not going to have some runoff. Looks like everything's come together here. Nice and hot. Generally speaking, this is, if I was going to measure it, I think off the top of my head, we're sitting at about 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. It's not boiling. It's definitely hot. And if we were to put our hands in here, it would hurt. And that's basically how I look at it, is if you touch it and it hurts, it's pretty much done. But you don't want it boiling. So get it nice and warm, and we're going to start flipping these over. Now you can see in behind this yarn, you're going to, let's wait till we get into the middle pots here. But that dark purple on top looks like it has set quite well. Everything's nice and clear. And as we get down towards the bottom, it's nice and clear as well. So everything's set up really, really nice. If you wanted to check your pots before you started flipping, you could literally just put your hands in there and spread the yarn up a little bit and just see if there's any color left in that water before flipping. And that'll stop that from traveling up into the yellow and allow us to keep some separation there and keep some high contrast in this colorway. Now on this side, we're going to throw a little bit of purple in there, but we're also going to put a little bit of green in there because flowers have green as well, right? Green stems. So let's get into this here. Get these pushed down, get these flipped over. Don't ever be afraid to get your fingers in here and get them dirty. That's for sure. You got to get your hands in there, right? Make sure you wear gloves though, because it's definitely hot. Safety first. Now I have had a lot of people ask me, why is the other side white? Why doesn't the dye go all the way through? And that's just how we have them lined up in the pots here. So basically we want that dye to go just over 50% of the way through the skein. We don't want it to go 100% through, but most of the way through at worst, right? And then you flip them over and you dye the other side. And that allows us to get a little bit more color onto the other side. We can kind of change it up a little bit. We don't have to worry about, that vibrant purple coming all the way through. We can do something a little bit lighter or a little bit darker on this side and really get that variation to come through. All right, so we're gonna puff up this side as well. Make sure everything's pushed down all nice. And then let's get that kind of that same pinky purple that we had across the bottom on the other side. We're going to throw it on the top here and just kind of change it up a little bit. Like I said, that it gives us a little bit more variation in the skein when we're working with it, and a little bit shorter of a color run. Also, it's a pretty color, so why not, right? Next, we're going to go across the bottom here. When we puff up, we always do the puff last. So we're going to throw this, it's kind of a emerald green across the bottom. Just a little bit blue, little bit green. Yeah, just something a little different, right? We don't want just a straight forest green or something like that. I like to change it up a little bit, kind of give it a little bit of variation there. So we've got this turquoisey bluish green. I'm going to call it emerald, just for easy figuring. Got this beautiful emerald green across the bottom. And then into the center here, we're going to throw more of that yellow. Now, like I said before, yellow isn't always just a straight up yellow, right? This is the exact same recipe we had on the front. It's some sun yellow with a little bit of golden yellow mixed into it, just to kind of tone down that fluorescent yellow color. Now, my favorite part about this is when you mix a yellow and a blue, you're going to get a green. Right, so we get a little bit variation between the yellow and that emerald green, and then we kind of produce this leaf green in there as well. So nice, beautiful interaction there. Get them mixed up, get your fingers in there. You can see there's a lot more moisture on this side. The yarn is almost completely submerged in, well, it's dye, but the dye comes out, so it's just basically water once it's cooked off. But yeah, when we're done with our low immersion, the yarn should be like 95% of the way covered, right? So it's got a lot of fluid in there for it to be able to cook off and make sure that we're getting that dye nice and deep into the colorway itself. Now, once we got these all mixed, we're going to throw the lids back on and we're going to give them a good cook to make sure that all of that dye sets. We don't want any bleeding or anything like that. So we're probably going to give it a good 15 minutes on this side as well, just to kind of finalize everything, make sure that it's nice and set. Like so. After that, we're going to hang it to dry. Not to make somebody sit there and watch yarn dry, but once it's dry, it is time to skein this stuff up. So we're going to start with our fingering weight. Get this one twisted up. You can see that yellow really coming through, that brilliant violet in there as well. And I love that pinky purple that just kind of plays with that brilliant violet as well. Just really pulls it all together. Now, when you're skeining yarn, I highly suggest you tuck those ends in. It's not mandatory, but it definitely makes the end result look better. Now, unfortunately, from what I understand, even if I tuck my ends in, once it goes through the mail, it tends to come out and not be as pretty, but I always like to make sure when it leaves my hands, it's as beautiful as it can be. This here is our DK weight. Same as the fingering weight, it is an 80/20 merino nylon superwash, 19.5 micron, beautiful base to work with, extremely soft. The DK weight tends to have a little bit more white in it. The dye itself will get soaked up a little bit quicker into the skein, so we have a little bit more white that comes through in the colorway itself. It's still very, very similar to the fingering weight, but like I said, it does tend to be just a smidge lighter. This here is the worsted weight, one of my favorites. Of course, if I'm going to grab yarn, I'm going to grab the worsted weight. Now, we're only doing 3 today because our chunky base is, I'm not going to say it's discontinued. Our chunky base is taking a little break for the summer months here. So we are hoping to take and bring it back in the fall when it starts to cool down a little bit. We'll get an order with the supplier and see if we can't get some of that in. But right now, our worsted weight is the heaviest that we are carrying. Worsted weight is a 100% merino superwash. It's a beautiful base to work with. Let's get them into the light box here so we can get some nice close-ups. Again, this is the fingering weight. You can see some of those brilliant violets coming through, and then you got kind of that pink purple that it bleeds off into. You can also see that emerald green down towards the bottom, and as it mixes up into the yellow, you can see that it kind of kicks over into that leaf green side of things. So you're getting a lot of different colors playing with each other here. Like I said, in this DK weight, we do have to have a little bit more of the white splotches. There is some in the fingering weight, but it tends to be a little bit more prevalent in the DK weight. I believe that's because the yarn soaks up the dye just a little bit faster, so it doesn't travel as far before it sets. That's all. So fingering weight on the left, DK weight on the right. Very, very close. Both are very, very beautiful. I love them. And of course, our worsted weight base, 100% merino. Beautiful, beautiful base to work with. And look at all those color variations, hey? This colorway really pulls it all together. It jumps all over the place and everything blends so very nice. I love it so much. Now on our website, you're going to see photos of either 3 or 4 colorways from left to right. That's always fingering, DK, worsted, and or chunky, depending on whether it's photos of 3 skeins or 4 skeins. And we also have a swatch available for every single colorway on the website. All right, let's get it into the Addy Express. The easiest way to swatch yarn or make a toque. I haven't actually made a toque on this, or hat, sorry. If you're not from Canada, it's not a toque. I haven't actually made a hat on this, but from what I understand, it's very easy, very fast, and it really looks quite nice. So, got them into the teeth here. We're gonna hook up the drill and get this thing rolling. Now, the manufacturer does not suggest using a drill. That's just me. So don't use a drill on your Addy Express. That's not a nice thing. You're gonna break it. But I'm not the manufacturer, so I say do whatever you want. All right, we got a swatch knit up here. Again, if you were finishing off this, you would do a little bit more. I'm not going to finish this. So basically, I take it off the Addy Express, and I'm going to unwind it as soon as this swatch is done. So got some beautiful color variation there. It does look like we've got a bit of spiraling going on, but keep in mind, if you're not doing 44 stitches on an Addy Express, your results are going to be completely different than mine. All this swatch is for is to give you an idea of how everything's playing together. Now, it's time to get into the caker. Now, the caking new yarn is probably my favorite thing to do. It gives me the ability to see the entire skein up close, right? It'll give me a little section across the top where I'm seeing the beginning, the middle, and the end of the skein, and let me know how that saturation plays out through the entire colorway. So I absolutely love caking new yarn. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, although it's quite satisfying. I don't think sitting here through this entire process is really going to be, you know, that enjoyable. So we got it into the caker. We're going to spin it up here real quick, and then we'll show you the end result. Here we go. Getting close to the end. These things are absolutely mind-boggling to watch, by the way. Like, I don't know how you turn the machine off and all of a sudden you got a beautiful cake. It still blows my mind. I don't understand this whole concept of caking. I just know it works. So we got it all wrapped up here. I am seeing lots of saturation through the entire colorway. Nothing really seems to be jumping out as an issue, which is always a good thing. That's what I'm looking for, issues. We got lots of saturation. We got color from start to finish. Get it into the light box here so we can really see it. Yeah, look at that. It's not darker in the middle. It's not lighter on the outside. Everything really seems to be coming together here. So I'm quite happy with this colorway. Very happy. Got those beautiful yellows. Lots of purple coming through. We got that green coming through. Everything kind of pulled together the way I wanted it to. So beautiful colorway. And I think it's time we do our pairings. I think that's my favorite part of these videos is the pairings. So up first we have Garden Flowers in the fingering weight. We're going to throw that into the center here, and we're going to kind of work on, I'm going to call it a fade. Basically, I like to add another 4 colorways to this and kind of pull it together. So on the left side here, we're going to put in some Peace and Quiet, and we've got some purple speckling in this colorway that really pulls into Garden Flowers. I know it's kind of looking dark on the photo or on the video here, but those are basically the same grape juice colors in speckle form on some Peace and Quiet. So kind of pulls those two together. On the other side of things, we're going to go with Lavender Glow. This colorway was released just a couple months ago. We've got kind of that reddy purple where you're taking a purple and you're adding some red to it to kind of pull that more towards the pink side of things. And we've also got some of that brilliant violet in there that really sets it off. Now, beside Peace and Quiet on the left, we're going to put some Iris U, which is just a little bit lighter. So you could technically pull some Peace and Quiet out of here and throw Iris U right beside Garden Flowers. I think those two colors would go quite well together. But it also goes with some Peace and Quiet really well. So I'm quite happy with that mix. Look at that. Yes. If you're looking for 4, those are my picks right there. Those 4 skeins, absolutely stunning. And if you're looking for a 5th, I would grab this one here. How about them apples? Now, this doesn't really have the purple in it, although it goes quite well. I think for me, the green and the emerald green are really what pulls us into Garden Flowers, right? So this red here pairs up really nice with Lavender Glow, and the green and the emerald kind of play into Garden Flowers there. So I would say these 5 really hold their own. If you were looking for some semi-solids, we're going to do those now. So up first, we've got Garden Flowers. Yep, if I can get it to stay in the center. There we go. All right, so up first, we got Garden Flowers. Now beside that, I'm going to throw in, of course, Plum, right? It's got that nice dark purple in it. If you were looking at just the 2 skeins, I would probably grab Plum. You could grab Sun Yellow as well if you really wanted to. Myself personally, I'm not a huge fan of the yellows. I'm going to lead more towards the Plum. And if you have a Plum, Midnight is a great contrast to Plum. Not contrast, a complement to Plum, right? So you could grab these 3. I would be quite happy with those. Even though there's no Midnight in Garden Flowers itself, I think the Plum next to the Midnights, those 3 really kind of pull each other together there. So that's the reason Midnight's in there. And on the other side of things, one of our new colorways actually, Antique Rose. So it's a little bit lighter, and I think, you know, looking at this, I would say those are my 3. Those would be my top 3 picks right there. You go with the Plum and the Antique Rose, throw in the Garden Flowers, and those 3 really set it off. Another one of our new ones is Neptune's Wake, and I think that plays into the emerald green really well. So we've got that nice light green in the bottom of Garden Flowers here. And I would say, yeah, you could even substitute it out with the Plum, and I would say that's pretty decent. Oh, yeah. All 4 of these are just, they're really calling to me. I don't know. I'm not having a hard time with any of them, really. Like even Midnight right beside Garden Flowers there, I'm pretty happy with that. So I don't know. Dealer's choice. Whatever you think is best. I think we could really pull those together. Now, like I said earlier, we have a swatch on the website. Every single listing has a swatch. You might have to look through the photos a little bit, but it is there. So head to the website, check them out. Here's our 4. We've got Fingering, DK, Worsted, and Chunky Weight. The Chunky Weight is all sold out. I was able to get a photo before this video, but it's no longer available. And of course, the big reveal, Garden Flowers. Beautiful pansies, high contrast. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you again next time.